Alright, so a couple of days ago, Overwatch got a new update, adding the long-awaited Team Q game mode to the game. Maybe not long-awaited for some people, but I know certainly a lot of streamers that are in high-ranking players that were kind of annoyed with the fact that they couldn't play with, you know, friends, because of how Blizzard heavily limits your ability to queue with friends in the way that they completely disable it when you get to Grandmaster. You can only duo and that's it. So after finally wrangling together 5 of my friends that actually play Overwatch consistently, we were able to play some of the game mode and check it out and see if it's any good, if it has any problems with it. And it does have problems. But just to talk about my own experience a bit, we got to play a whopping 2 games. We managed to get through 2 games before Overwatch servers died. And you could just not get any games. I don't know how this happened or what was causing it, but I'm sure if people played Overwatch a couple of days ago, they may have run into this, but you queue for a game and you just get error server could not start, and you just got that forever and the game was completely unplayable. And then ever since then, we haven't been able to assemble 5 people at the same time to play the game mode. But for the 2 minutes that I actually got to play and enjoy the game mode, it was actually pretty fun. We had a pretty wide range of, you know, ranks within the group. We had like 2 Grandmaster players, a Diamond, a Gold, and then someone who probably would be Diamond, but hasn't played the game in almost almost at all. They have not played Overwatch 2 at all. So old washed player. So I was not sure what to expect with the matchmaking, but honestly, both games were pretty fair for the most part. It didn't feel like we were completely stomping the other team, and it didn't feel like we were getting stomped. We won our first one and lost our second one, and honestly, our second one we maybe would have won if one of my friends, Cat, didn't step on his computer's power button and shut it off in the middle of the game. But yeah, that was pretty funny. So I'd honestly say that's pretty nice, is that it was finally able to play Overwatch with a group of people and not have to worry about off-rolling or trying to do some weird, like, everyone plays an off-roll so that they can all, like, queue together just because of ranking restrictions. It was really nice to not have to worry about that. We still did have to off-roll because out of the 5 people, 4 of us are support mains. So we still had people off-rolling, but I mean, you can't do anything about that. We can't run 4 supports in a tank. Now, for pros of the new game mode, it was nice to play with a group of people and just have voice comms and Discord and everything like that. But unfortunately, that was kind of the only pro. And I feel like that's the reality of Team Q in its current state, is that you need to add more to make it unique in order for people to play it and have fun with it. Like, we had a team name for fun, and the first game, we asked the other team for their team name, and they actually gave us a team name, and from that point on, they were actually, like, talkative in match chat, and it just seemed like we had a very good time. Like, actually one of the most fun games of Overwatch I've played in a while. The second game, we asked for their team name, they didn't tell us, and then they kind of were very toxic, at least like minor toxicity, in my opinion, but my friends were not very pleased with them. And I feel like that's a potential problem for a Team Q game mode, is always getting put against 5 stacks. I think there's a very high potential for either toxicity, but also them being like friendly and chill. Just because, depending on the group you're playing against. I feel like another con of the game mode is just queue times and it being very difficult to play. Like, we've tried to get people together the past couple days after the first day that, you know, the game mode was released, and it just hasn't worked out yet. And when we played, queue times were not that bad. The first game took 2 minutes, and the second game took a bit longer. It took like 9 minutes to actually find a game. And I feel like 9 minutes is probably like the normal time, and that our first 2-minute queue was just a fast queue for some reason. Because I have seen people reporting that they've had really long queue times for this game mode. But I don't know if they could just be, you know, matchmaking, because we did have a very high difference in our ranks from regular competitive role queue. So that could have played a role in it. But it is not a very great sign that new game mode that just released is already having problems with queue times in a lot of cases, especially if they are very widespread. Because again, I don't know if it was just us or only some people are having problems, or if everyone is having super long queue times, so let me know in the comments if it's an everyone kind of issue. And I feel like that's kind of it for the cons, because the reality, and I lied, this is actually the biggest con, is that it just feels like regular ranked with a 5 stack. It doesn't feel unique at all, and I think that's the biggest problem for the game mode at the moment. Because the reality is, me being a high ranked player, I am the very small minority. A lot of the problems with not being able to play with friends won't apply to a lot of people. Probably around 70 to 80% of the game's player base is in the gold to diamond rank range. And all of those people, that 80%, can all queue with each other. In normal ranked play, they don't need this new game mode, so they don't need to play it. So as for trying to fix this game mode and make it better, I think one of the first things that needs to be done is for them to add more unique aspects to it. Give you the ability to queue up and put in a little team name. It might not do that much for a lot of people, but it could just make it more fun and unique and differentiate itself from the regular ranked role queue game mode. Another big thing that they could do is they could really take advantage of the fact that when you queue for team queue, you don't actually select a role to queue for, you just all queue together and then you select a role once you get into the game. And this is really cool until you realize that once everybody picks a character, you're now basically locked onto the role that you pick, because role limits are still in effect. So if you pick support, you're locked onto playing a support because both the 2 DPS slots and the tank slot are already filled. So I really think that something they could do is give you the ability to unselect a character so that you can actually swap roles with somebody else mid-game. So say you have a friend that's really good at Reinhardt, but you're really good at Winston, and you're like, okay, let's try playing Dive at the start. So you pick the Winston, and then they pick Ana or a DPS that they're good at, and then you're trying to run Dive. But if Dive doesn't work and you're like, okay, we want to mirror the Reinhardt that the other team is running and try and like match them, well then you'd want your other friend who's good at Reinhardt to be playing tank, and then you could take over their role that they were playing. But you can't do that because you can't really swap roles in the middle of a game. I think the only time you're able to swap roles is whenever you swap sides or swap maps in King of the Hill. Actually, King of the Hill, it doesn't unselect your hero, so I don't even think King of the Hill between rounds you can swap roles around. Only between like attack and defense, because swapping sides sends you back to the select a hero screen, and because no hero is selected, you can now select a hero from any role. So I definitely think that adding role swapping mid-match is something that's very unique that they could add to differentiate this new game mode from the standard role queue game mode. Next, addressing the problem of queue times. It can be very hard to get 5 people together, and if queue times are long, people will just stop playing the game mode or stop trying to queue for it, which would just make the problem worse. If people aren't able to get people to do it and there's long queue times, people will stop queuing for it and it will make queue times even longer. So I think the best thing they could do for that is actually to limit when people can play it, so that instead of people trying to queue for it all the time, it's a game mode that will only be available on weekends or something like that. That way people could plan around and have set times that they're able to play the game mode, and that will hopefully get a lot more people to play it, so that you'll have enough active players to have decently fast queue times. And then to fix the last problem that the game mode has, which I think is incentivizing people to play it, I think you just need to add some unique cosmetics or other items that are something unique and themed towards the team queue game mode. I think one fun idea could be like group player icons, or name card backgrounds, or I actually don't remember what they're called. Not player icons, but like the thing that goes behind your name. Is it a name card? I think it might be a name card. But make team-themed versions of those where you could equip them with friends and you'd be able to like make a big picture or something, and make that be one of the rewards you could get for playing the team-based game mode, is you can all have these matching player icons that go together to make like a big picture whenever you queue up for a game of Team Q. I think another fun idea could be for them to do team-based emotes. So for reference, I'm thinking kind of like Team Fortress 2. If people have ever played Team Fortress 2, I love Team Fortress 2. I've played thousands of hours of it before coming over to Overwatch. And one thing cool that Team Fortress 2 had was they had taunts, which were just like emotes, but they later added in taunts that were team-based, so you could actually have other players participate in them. So instead of just doing a emote when you press the button, you'd kind of enter a waiting pose, and then another player could walk over to you, and they could press their taunt button, and then they'd complete the animation together with you. So like there was one that was like rock, paper, scissors, and it was random which person would win. There's another emote where you flip someone up, like they jump towards you, you have your hands out, and then you flip them up into the air and they do a cool backflip. It was something very fun to just do before a game starts. And then in addition to the duo emotes or taunts from Team Fortress 2, there were also entire team-based ones, one of which was the conga emote, where if you pressed it, your character would start moving forwards and doing the conga, and then other players, even if they don't have that taunt or emote unlocked, they could still come over to you and press the taunt button to join in, and then you could just have your entire team doing the conga and spawn. I feel like something like that would actually be a very cool reward for encouraging people to try out the Team Q game mode. And making emotes like that is also something that would transfer into other game modes very easily as well, since doing something like team-based name cards or player icons wouldn't really transfer that well into other game modes unless you 5-stacked in those as well. But yeah, I feel like those could be some very good places to start with changes to make Team Q into something better. But unfortunately, I might have to ask you to forget everything that I just said, because while making this video, I had an even better idea. Honestly, one of the coolest ideas I've had in a very long time. A way to completely overhaul Team Q and turn it into something special. So that's what I'm going to be doing next. I don't want to talk about it now because I really want to put together a good, strong pitch for everyone. So if you really want to see that, please like and subscribe. That's going to be in my next video. I'm going to spend the next 2 days just working on trying to include a lot of cool things, actually have some concepts of how it would be laid out and stuff like that. It's going to be cool. It's a very cool idea, and I can't wait to share it with people and see what they think. So yeah, that's it for this video. And hopefully I'll see you in a few days, or a couple of days probably. I'm actually very excited to work on this next video. So yeah, see ya.